GPT 5.5 just dropped and it changes everything you know. OpenAI just dropped GPT 5.5, and the part nobody is talking about is the price. They doubled it. The new model costs twice as much per token as GPT 5.4, and somehow people are still lining up to pay for it. That should tell you everything about what this update actually does. Because OpenAI does not raise prices for a chatbot. They raise prices when the thing you are buying stopped being a chatbot. And if you stick with me for the next few minutes, I am going to show you the one feature buried in the release notes that I think will quietly reshape how millions of people work this year, and most creators covering this update completely missed it. Here is what happened on April 23, 2026. OpenAI pushed GPT 5.5 live to Plus, Pro, Business, and Enterprise users inside ChatGPT and Codex. No big stage event, no Sam Altman on a couch, just a blog post and a quiet rollout. And within hours, developers on X were posting screenshots of the same model writing full working apps from a single prompt, debugging its own code, and handling tasks that used to take teams of people an entire afternoon. This is not GPT-6. GPT-6 is still coming, and it has a code name inside OpenAI, which is Spud. I am not making that up. But 5.5 is the bridge, and the bridge is carrying a lot more weight than most people realize. Let me give you one number that frames this whole story. Inside Codex, GPT 5.5 can now hold around 400 tokens of context in a single session. To put that in plain English, you could paste an entire medium-sized novel, a full legal contract, and a small codebase into one chat, and the model would remember every word of it while it works. The older version would forget the beginning by the time it reached the end. This one does not. And that single change is what unlocks everything else I'm about to tell you. Before we go deeper, I want to quickly show you something that ties directly into this. If you are watching this and thinking, this sounds useful, but I have no idea how to actually put GPT 5.5 to work for my business or my content, that is exactly why we built AI Profit Boardroom. It is a step-by-step system that shows you how to save time and automate the boring parts of your work using tools like GPT 5.5, Codex, and the new agent features we are about to talk about. No fluff. Just the real playbooks people are using right now. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. Okay, back to the story. To understand why GPT 5.5 matters, you have to understand what OpenAI is actually building. And they are not building a smarter chatbot anymore. They are building something closer to a digital coworker. The official language from OpenAI describes GPT 5.5 as a new class of intelligence for real work. That phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Because what they mean is, this model is not designed to answer your questions faster. It is designed to carry out multi-step jobs on its own. Plan the task. Use tools. Check its own work. Come back with something finished. That is a completely different product category, and the pricing reflects it. Here is the first real revelation. GPT 5.5 comes in two main flavors inside ChatGPT. There is Thinking and there is Pro. Thinking is faster, smarter, more concise, and it is available to Plus, Pro, Business, and Enterprise users. Pro is the heavy hitter, and it is only available on Pro, Business, and Enterprise plans. Pro is built for the kind of work where you cannot afford a mistake. Long research reports, complex code reviews, financial analysis across hundreds of documents. The difference between Thinking and Pro is basically the difference between asking a sharp intern and asking a senior specialist. And for the first time, regular users can access both from the same drop-down menu. Now here is where it gets interesting, and this is the part most people are glossing over. The Codex upgrade that came with GPT 5.5 is arguably bigger than the ChatGPT upgrade. Codex was rewritten from the ground up, and it is now a genuinely autonomous coding agent. Developers are reporting that Codex with GPT 5.5 can take a single instruction like build me a working checkout page for my store and actually produce the code, test it, debug the errors, and hand back a running version. NVIDIA's own engineering blog published a breakdown saying GPT 5.5 is more token efficient, meaning it does more with fewer words, which for developers translates directly into faster, cheaper, more reliable agents. And this is the part that stopped me in my tracks. OpenAI's messaging around this launch keeps using one specific phrase: computer use. They are framing GPT 5.5 as a model that can operate your computer for certain tasks, not advise you, not suggest. actually do the clicking, the typing, the file moving. CNBC covered the announcement and highlighted that same framing. Let that sink in for a second. The first version of a mass-market AI that can sit at your keyboard and complete work you would normally do yourself just quietly shipped, and most people still think of ChatGPT as the thing that writes their emails. Okay, I promised you an honest take, and here it is. This update is not magic. There are real limits, and you need to know them before you get swept up in the hype. The pricing jump is steep. GPT 5.5 in the API costs $5 per million input tokens and $30 per million output tokens. GPT 5.4 was half that. For heavy users, that math adds up fast. Some of the third-party claims floating around online, like a specific percentage drop in hallucinations versus GPT 4.0, are not in OpenAI's official post. I have seen creators repeat those numbers as if they came from OpenAI. They did not. They came from independent analyses, and while the model does feel more reliable in testing, you should treat those exact figures with caution. There is also the rollout issue. If you are on the free plan, you are not getting the full GPT 5.5 experience right now. OpenAI is prioritizing paid tiers. That is a real friction point for people who use ChatGPT casually. And the model, for all its power, still makes confident mistakes. It will still make up a citation. It will still invent a library that does not exist. Better does not mean perfect, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling something. But here is the reframe. Every previous generation had the same issues, and each one got dramatically more trustworthy over 6 to 9 months of tuning. 5.5 is starting from a higher floor than any model before it. Now let me pull back and tell you what all of this actually means, because this is the part I want you to carry with you after the video ends. For the last 3 years, we have been talking about AI as a tool. Something you ask, something you prompt, something you steer. GPT 5.5 is the first model where that frame starts to break. It is not a tool you use. It is a worker you direct. You tell it what you want, and it goes and does it. That is a different relationship. It changes what it means to be productive. It changes what it means to be skilled. And it changes which jobs look safe a year from now and which ones do not. Here is what I mean in practical terms. A freelance writer using GPT 5.5 with the full context window can now research, outline, draft, and edit a 10,000-word piece in an afternoon. A solo developer can ship a working web app in a weekend that would have taken a small team a month. A small business owner can analyze every single customer email from the last year and pull out the 3 complaints that matter most in about 20 minutes. None of this requires you to be technical. It requires you to know what to ask for, and it requires you to actually sit down and try it. The people who do that this month will be 6 months ahead of the people who wait. And that is the real shift. Not the context window, not the pricing, not even the agents. The shift is that the gap between people who use these tools seriously and people who do not is about to become the widest it has ever been. A year ago, a non-user was maybe a week behind a user. Today, a non-user is months behind. By the time GPT 6 Spud ships, that gap becomes a canyon. You asked why the price doubled. This is why. You are not paying for a smarter model. You are paying for the first version of something that genuinely does the work instead of just talking about it. Before I wrap up, one quick thing. If you want the full process for putting GPT 5.5 to work in your own projects, along with SOPs, prompt templates, and over 100 real AI use cases, just like the ones I talked about today, come join us in the AI Success Lab. It is a free community with over 67,000 members who are actually using these tools to get results right now. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments, along with the notes from this video. And if you want the deeper systems and automation playbooks, AI Profit Boardroom is where we go next level. Same link in the description. So here is my question for you. What is the one task in your work that you would hand to GPT 5.5 tomorrow if you trusted it to do the job right? Drop it in the comments. I read them, and the best ones usually turn into the next video I make. Speaking of which, if you want to understand where all of this is heading, the video I would genuinely recommend watching next is my breakdown of the Spud rumors and what GPT 6 is shaping up to be. It is the other half of this story. OpenAI just doubled the price of their flagship model, and people are lining up to pay. Now you know why.